Welcome to the Freedom CEO podcast. It's about becoming the chief decision maker over your life in order to step into a life of freedom. From business, health, wealth, charity, and giving back to just doing life on your own terms. I am your host, Shay Invidiata. I am an award-winning activist, change maker, and a multifaceted impact entrepreneur with over a decade of experience in business, philanthropy, and health and wellness. In this space, I'm going to be bringing you insights, not just from me, but from incredible thought leaders around the globe to help you start making decisions towards living a life of freedom so you can live a life you love. Are you ready, guys? Because we are going all in. It's rare I get to talk about mushrooms, plants, giving back, charity work, and business all in one conversation. I think this episode is going to pique your curiosity. Longtime friends Mike Wallis and Kory McLaughlin both left their careers behind to build a company with a greater purpose that they could be proud of. Mike worked in the corporate world and Kory ran his own landscaping company before getting into the social enterprise sector. Both were tired of working so many hours at something they had little to no passion for. They both felt like there was something bigger to life and they wanted to do something greater for the world. In 2015, Mike and Kory founded Tenfed. They're both here today to share the mission of Tenfed, the lessons they've learned along the way, and how their mission has evolved since founding. Kory and Mike, welcome to the Freedom CEO podcast. I'm so excited to have you both here. It's been a minute since, Kory, you and I have actually seen each other. Yep. And we met through Impact Social Enterprises, which is a really near and dear topic to my heart. And you guys were doing this company. It's kind of actually, I don't know if it was recently founded when you were at my event, but founded in 2015, Tenfed. You guys are both on here. So you tell us, what is Tenfed, your journey? And I'm grateful to have you guys here today.
Thank you, Shay. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And I do remember that event. We were down at, I think, the Westin Harborfront Hotel doing an event together. And I was at that event sole, just me on that day. And that was it was beautiful to connect with you then and appreciated you having us there, our brand there. So just quickly, like an idea of what we do, Tenfed, is that Mike and I started this company to give back. We wanted to give back to people in some way. We had been going through life, working corporate jobs. And I had a landscaping company at the time. And Mike and I just wanted to help other people in some way. And we didn't even really know exactly how. We just knew that there was a bigger purpose for us to be here. And we ended up deciding that we were going to make t-shirts that would give back to people in some way. So if someone bought a t-shirt, we would donate to different charities. And that's how this company started. We actually partnered with various charities and donated money back. And every month that charity would change. And eventually we got to a point where we connected with one charity, Kids Against Hunger Canada. And we had such a great synergy, such a good chemistry with each other. And that's when Mike and I just decided, this is it. We're going to focus on one thing, and that's feeding people. It's one of the biggest issues in the world is that people are going hungry. And that has elevated in the last few years. And so we wanted to focus on that solely, which is where Tenfed came from. Just feeding 10 people for every item that we sell. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, candles. No matter what the item is, when it's purchased, it feeds 10 people. So we've been able to provide just about 500,000 meals so far.
That is incredible. Amazing. So for those tuning in and listening, I'd love to just share really quick why Tenfed meant a lot to me with freedom. And if you don't know what Freedom is, it's a nonprofit organization that fights human trafficking in Canada and abroad. And whenever you have vulnerability or poverty in a situation, you're susceptible to become trafficked, right? You're preyed upon. And so when my event coordinator came to me and said, hey, there's this company called Tenfed, they're a for-profit company creating social positive impact to feed those who can't feed themselves and don't have meals, and kids, and just people in general. I was like, you guys need to come to our event, because that's where this cross synergy happens around we're fighting against human trafficking, and we're really big on the preventative side. And so that's why Tenfed for me was so in alignment, because you guys are really doing that preventative piece, right? If you can have a child come to school fed, leave not hungry, then that creates that level of safety and not vulnerability of having them being preyed upon, where somebody's like, I'll buy you a meal, I'll take care of you. And because they don't have that, whether it's in the home or maybe they're older and not able to provide that for themselves. So I love the work you guys are doing. And I love that it's on so many different cool products that you guys have, which you'll have to go to your guys' website. I'm going to put that up in the show notes. So that was the connection for me. And Mike, I'd love to hear from you. I know you guys were at a particular event, and I think this is kind of where you guys both found this passion around wanting to be in business, but also giving back. And like, why even do that? Because it's kind of in some ways double the effort, right?
Yeah. No, it's a great question. And like Kory and I really wanted to build something that was bigger than ourselves. And we went to a Tony Robbins event, and that was kind of when the turning point happened. That was back in 2013. And Kory was running a landscaping company at the time. I was working a corporate job, and both of us just had this sense that we just really weren't fulfilled in what we were doing. And every time we chatted about life, we always just got to the point where we were like, there's got to be more to this than just doing something for an income and not being into it with our heart and our soul. And the more we chatted about it, and the more ideas started swirling. We went to this event in 2013, and from that, Tony obviously, his program's fantastic. We had both been reading a lot of Tony Robbins, like books, doing his exercises, and something that obviously was a theme, a part of the weekend, was that in order to create that durable fulfillment, to help others, to just do what we're here to do, and that's naturally just help other people. There's a lot of people that aren't fortunate enough to be in situations that we're in, and that we often take for granted: being able to put food on the table, having a roof over our heads, having heat, having a bed to sleep in. And some people are born into those situations where that's just simply not part of their life. Some people might not even know that that's normal, like that's even possible. So we just kind of looked at our situation. We looked at what we felt we could give back with the most, and that's where we started our first company. And honestly, when we started our first company called Passion 12, which eventually morphed into Tenfed, we were just like, we just want to give back. We just want to help people. We weren't even sure how we wanted to do that. We're just like, we just want to help people. That was the theme of Passion 12. What it was called at the time was, we were just helping different charities every month. And even before we had a sale, that just felt good, that we had found something. We'd found a way to give back our time, our effort, and it felt good in our hearts to actually, have something that was very meaningful for us. We wake up in the morning and we have a goal to strive towards. It was massive in terms of a shift of our mindset and just the way that we live our lives. And like I just spoke of, the things that we probably take for granted. It just kind of put things into perspective of what was truly important to us at the time. And since then, over the last, 7-8 years, that's just continued to just expand, and our hearts have continued to open, and we're always looking for ways that we can get better and we can learn and that we can grow, not only as a company but as individuals as well. So it was a huge step towards our company growth and towards our own personal growth.
I love that. And you guys are now kind of expanding, like you're talking about personal development and growth, the charity side of people in need, but you really are now moving as well into the personal development space to just help people evolve from where they are to become better, to become stronger. And tell me what you guys are doing with that. What's happening there?
Yeah, well, I mean, going through this entrepreneurial journey over the last, 8-9 years, it's incredible what you go through, the highs and the lows, the challenges. And I think, Mike and I sort of joke about this, about how I think the business has actually grown us maybe more than we've grown it. We've learned so much going through this business. So when things changed a few years ago, we had to change and we had to shift, and we went through a lot going through everything. We came to this point where we wanted to explore internally a lot more. Right. And so both Mike and I actually ventured into taking a breathwork facilitators program. And we had that experience ourselves when doing plant medicine. We actually did ayahuasca, just wanting to go internal, wanting to understand ourselves and life a little bit more. And it was huge for us, going through the plant medicine itself, not to mention the breathwork experience. A lot came up that had been in there for a long time. And we were finally able to both, like we've spoken about it, Mike and I, lots. We were able to see things that we weren't able to see before about ourselves and about life. So it triggered us to go and take this program. And we both became breathwork facilitators. So we're now not only guiding experiences through breathwork, but we're also continuing to go down the path of understanding and getting to know psychedelics in a deeper way, because it's been one of the biggest catalysts to our growth by a mile. It's been incredible.
So, okay. You've just thrown out a lot of maybe trendy words, maybe what I'm going to call woo-woo words and phrases. And I really want to unpack some of these, because I think there can be a stigma around, well, psychedelics, number one. You hear the word plant medicine, you're like, well, what is that really? And it gets clumped in with psychedelics. And then for a lot of people dismissed. Breath work, like what is breath work? Again, maybe a little woo-woo, right? And these are, when you break them down to the fundamentals and the core of what actually it is, there's great value there, but also like the teaching and practices and healing, really, that is as a tool that can be overlooked if you're not immersed in this world. And you guys are more in it than I am, as much as, I do breath work and have done breath work, but I'm not a breath work facilitator. I have not done a plant medicine journey, which is probably shocking to a lot of people, since I live in like one of the meccas in the world for it, being in Costa Rica, which we can talk about that around why I have or have not. But let's unpack some of this for a little bit, because I want people to really dive in, as opposed to feeling like they're getting disconnected by some of these terms. Let's start with breath work. Like, what is breath work? What's the purpose? Take me through it. My facilitators. There you go.
Yeah. Well, breath work's just a way to, it's a form of deep breathing. So the body, it's going into like it's somatic type breath work. So you're getting your entire body involved. And you're breathing deeply in a way that you wouldn't typically breathe normally. And breath work, when we first started to dig in and learn it, we started to learn that even in our regular everyday lives, most of us aren't really breathing properly or breathing as deeply or as often as we should. I personally, I noticed when I started to become aware of my breath that I'm a very shallow breather, and I almost go through periods where I hold my breath. And then, so it's quite common for people, but just realizing how quickly the breath can help alleviate stress, alleviate anxiety, just in your everyday typical scenarios. I myself suffered from a lot of anxiety growing up that carried over into, high school, college, into the corporate world.
Right.
And I didn't know at the time, but just this simple act of taking a few deep breaths can help calm and just kind of, really take that stress and have it melt away just with a few simple deep breaths. And the act of breath work, what that's doing is that's taking that to another level. So that's actually your body's going through such an impactful experience where you're going deep. You're basically shutting off the mind. And where we live, like 99% of the time, is in our minds. A lot of people can't sit still enough to even meditate for 2 minutes.
Right.
It's just there's constant chatter, there's constant activity going on in the mind. And what breathwork does when you're in the act of actually getting into the breath, trusting your breath and trusting your intuition rather than just staying in your mind, and you let your body take over. And what happens is it starts to create this clarity, and you can have certain emotions, certain traumas, certain anxieties, certain stresses all just start to lift once you're able to successfully turn that mind off. So breathwork, the way I like to put it, is it's just another tool in your toolbox once you become aware of it, to actually turn the mind off and allow you to go deep, to process, maybe to face stuff that you've been hiding from or turning away from or putting off, certain decisions in your life. It has so many benefits that it's hard to even put into words with the limited time that we have today. But like Kory said, it's been an absolute catalyst for our growth. The experience of learning how to become a facilitator, it's been a game changer across the board for both of us personally. And the fact that we have the ability to now share this experience with some of our close friends, with family, with other people who we're just meeting through the process. It's been such a beautiful experience, and we're just so grateful to have had the opportunity to learn it and to facilitate for others.
Yeah. So like when you're talking about breath work and the rhythm of it, I think about one of the more old school commonalities. I think a lot of people will say, oh yeah, they know about this, but maybe didn't realize that they're actually practicing breath work. So, whether you see on a TV show or like you're at home and you're having like a panic attack or you're freaking out, and somebody will get a paper bag and you're breathing in and out of the bag, right?
Yes.
And it's a tactic to slow you down. But part of it is to focus your mind on a different situation. And the focus then becomes on the breath. And you're doing these deep in and out, in and out. And I think that's probably the oldest recollection I have that most people could relate to without realizing that they're actually exercising breath work, And so now we're becoming so much more aware of the power of the breath. And whether it's on your meditation app, right? You can go and do even like a 3-minute, you don't even need you could do one minute, right? You can do very short sessions that can alter and change, but you start to realize like the power that the breath has. And one thing I speak a lot about, even just on my Instagram, is the power of the breath when you go do a cold plunge, because your breath is really connected, of course, with your heart, but it's what brings you down into this calm state as you are sinking into 0-degree water, 5-degree, and you're in this fight or flight to tell your body, I'm okay. And you're using the breath to actually calm yourself down. So those are two like really quick and easy examples I can think of that if people are like, well, does that really work? It's like, well, no, go cold plunge.
Yeah.
Have somebody walk you through your breath, but be mindful of that. And you will see the power that your breath has just to calm the body down and change that state, right?
Yes. And to add a little bit to this too, is like
Please.
the way that we're speaking right now, it's all about the body. We're talking about the breath. We're talking about air going into the lungs, the expansion of the chest, like all the details of the body, the heart. We've mentioned the heart a few times. Like, you know, when you quiet the mind down, it's incredible what you can realize and notice within your body, because this is where everything is stored. I mean, it's the most intuitive machine mechanism. Like, what is this? What is this body?
Totally.
What's it capable of? So, I mean, when you breathe to this level that you know, we put people through, even for 10 minutes, breathing to this level, it quiets the prefrontal cortex in the brain, which is where we create identity. It's where we create ego and self. And when that dissipates, what do you have left? You have your body, which is where everything is stored. So to be able to access that information when you finally shut up, like all the incessant chatter just quiets down, and then you get the opportunity to feel your body, and that's where the magic starts to happen. So, I mean, it's one, like Mike was saying, it's just one of the most incredible modalities, and it's going to get bigger because there's an awareness out there now of what this can do. And even like you said, 1 minute a day, that makes a difference in life, to breathe consciously 1 minute per day.
And you know, the most, I would say, like, incredible thing about breath work from an affordability standpoint is it basically costs you nothing, right? Like, if you don't know how to implement breath work, then sure, you know, you can go to facilitators like yourselves. You can, and it becomes a community. So there's a bigger reason around why you might join a membership program, which maybe you guys will chat a little bit about, or, you know, tuning in on an app on a regular basis. But once you know how to, you mentioned consciously breathe, and there's different techniques. So it's not just breathing in and out, like, you know, you are pulsing through. Sometimes you're breathing through one nostril and out through the other. Like, there's all these different techniques. And once you know just simple ones, you can be anywhere. You can be on a plane and experiencing anxiety and be able to bring yourself calmly down without meds, without needing a facilitator beside you, without needing to outsource in order to create that positive change. And your breath, you're always going to have it. It's endless, right? And so that's the cool thing, because so much stuff in the personal development space, as much as I strongly believe in it, and I invest, and I choose the word invest versus spending a lot of money in my own personal development and health and wellness. I know a lot of people sometimes listening to these conversations will say, like, well, yeah, I can't afford just to go cold plunge and do IV drip therapy and go to the gym and it all adds up. And that's what I love about breathwork, is that it's so approachable for everybody, right?
100%. Yeah, it's something like you just said. You said it so well. It's like you can't leave home without your breath. Everywhere you go, you have that tool with you. And yeah, when we experience like an actual breathwork session for the first time, that's kind of the realization that I personally took away from that, was like, I have this. This is a tool that every single human has and is born with. You can access this anytime you want. And you're right, Shay, about the other modalities. So yeah, it can add up, but you just used a fantastic word to describe that: invest. It's not spending. So like, whether you're getting a massage, whether you're going for a cold plunge, you're going to go on a retreat, that's the best investment that you could ever make, is in your own personal wellness. Because you could be the richest person on the planet, but if you're not okay up here and your body's not okay, then all the money in the world isn't going to help you live a fulfilled life.
Totally. Well, it's so interesting that you just said this, because just the other day on my Instagram, we just launched the Wealthy Women Vault. And I think people sometimes will confuse the word wealth with richness, of being rich. And I define being wealthy you need both those combinations of between money, but also your health, because without your health, you are just a rich person, in my opinion, right? And when your health starts to suffer, you might have access to funds to be able to try to heal yourself and correct it. But sometimes money does not bring you back from that, right? Once your health deteriorates, you can sometimes have all the money in the world, and that's not going to change your health circumstance, unfortunately. And therefore, you might be you've got a lot of it, money rich, but you're very health poor. And so for me to define what it really means to be wealthy is around this state of abundance. There is healthy money as well, right? So not poor, not scarcity mindset, all of that. But then that health component for me, that is so important. And I love that you brought that up, because I'm a very strong believer in that. And it starts in the mind. You mentioned thoughts earlier. Something like we have 70,000 thoughts in a day, and 95% of those are repeated every single day. So that's for me where the health really starts, is in the mind. And we need to start to reprogram the things that we're thinking about, so that we can actually change our beliefs, that then change our actions, that then change our habits, that then change our life. And breathwork is a fantastic tool. It's like that hybrid. It's that power partner to meditation, where you can move from breathwork into meditation into breathwork. Speak to that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is a great time to talk about this, that within the body, and you mentioned this, like 70,000 thoughts a day, it's 95% of them are the same. And if you want to change that, if you want to really change your life, meaning that you really want to feel better. I mean, what does it come down to? We just want to feel joy. We want to feel better. That's ultimately the number one thing, is to feel good. And that's not going to happen from the mind. It's just not. So you've got to go deep into the body. And that's hard for a lot of people to understand, including myself a couple of years ago. Like, what does it mean to go in the body? How do you do that?
Yes.
But let it, when you breathe and you breathe and you breathe and you breathe and you start to, and this is like you said, it's almost like a mix with meditation. You start to forget about your mind. You're just breathing.
Right.
And then you start to feel the body. That is where the difference starts to take shape. That's where things change. And when, you're talking about wealth and health and what's important, and I've been bringing this up a lot lately, when you're, I'm going to go here. When you're on your deathbed and you're looking back, like, picture yourself, meditate on this, just close your eyes and think about, I'm dying. I have 5 minutes left in my life. Well, what am I looking back on? I'm looking back on my relationships primarily.
Right.
The love that I put out there, the people that I connected with, and how kind I was, how much effort I put into helping others and making people feel good. But then primarily the number one relationship is the one with yourself. How did you treat yourself? How good did you feel? And so that's number one. To be able to go explore inside your body, you have to, whether you're doing meditation or a cold plunge or breath work or psychedelics, there's a lot of tools that you can use. But you want to go inside, you want to feel your body and start to get to know yourself, create a good relationship with yourself. All the relationships on the outside will begin to take care of themselves when you take care of your own being, the relationship you have with you.
So 100% I agree with that. And I want to segue now into like continuing in that thought of going in deep, because I know that psychedelics, plant medicine journeys are utilized really to unleash sometimes things that have been suppressed at the subconscious level, or that you just can't get release from. So shed some light on what we're talking about, even with plant medicine. Why is it even called medicine? Like, how can we say something like, quote unquote, that has drug characteristics can be seen as something that is really medicinal?
Yeah, it's I love when people actually use the word medicine, because that's what it is. It's medicine to heal your body, to heal your mind, to heal your soul. I find for me personally, it gives me the ability to go deeper than my mind, my subconscious, my consciousness will allow. So it allows me to kind of get down to another layer that I might not be able to surrender to and let go and be able to get down that far just with my mind alone. So, like there's a lot of people that could probably put this better, but scientifically it's almost like a way to dig a little deeper. And depending on the type of plant medicine, ayahuasca, psilocybin, whatever you're using, but each of those experiences would give you that opportunity to just dig down further. So the first time I experienced ayahuasca, I was able to kind of dig stuff up that I hadn't honestly thought or even been aware of for probably 30 plus years. And this was stuff that was very impactful for me as a young child, as a teenager. And I didn't realize that it was there still. And it gave me the opportunity. The way I described it was almost like I was prying up floorboards in a home and finding these little boxes that I had no idea were stored deep down inside of me. And to be able to go down in there and to access them, and then to surrender to it and let go, then it starts a whole other process. So it's not just a matter of going down, discovering them and becoming aware of them. It's a matter of then unpacking and processing them and allowing yourself to forgive others, to forgive yourself, to actually accept that these things happened for you. They didn't happen to you. And that's kind of how I approach each of the pieces that I find when I dive deeper, is that they made me into who I am today. And like Kory was saying, that whole self-compassion, that when you actually have a relationship with yourself, where you can truly look at yourself in the mirror and know that you love yourself and know that you're trying your best. I know a lot of us, me personally, this is 100% of the case, but we're our own worst enemies. We're our own biggest judgment. And it can weigh on you so heavily throughout the day. Little decisions, certain things that didn't go your way throughout the day, in business, in your own personal relationships. And we can beat ourselves up and we get nowhere. All that's doing is just creating this another layers and layers and layers of heaviness and regret and fear, a lot of fear-based emotion. But if we can actually accept that we're all trying our best here, and you can go easy on yourself, and you treat yourself the way that you would treat your best friend in a moment of crisis. You're there for them. You have their back. And out of my personal journey with ayahuasca the first time, that's kind of what I came out of it saying, like, I've got your back. And that was me looking in the mirror saying, you're trying your best. What you've done up to this point has made you into the person you are. And that's something you got to be proud of.
Yeah, it's powerful. I want to play devil's advocate a little bit though on this. The word journey is used often. That's to describe, what maybe somebody would say, you're just in a controlled environment to be able to trip out. How is that, how is that any different than literally tripping out on drugs, whether you're at a rave, a party, and there's a real serene way of saying, medicine, ceremony, journey, and it sounds very calming, but are not those just cushiony words around just tripping out?
So it's a really good question. I love this question. Yeah, it is a bit of a cushiony way to say it, because there's always going to be this sense of like marketing and the big, like you said, these like kind of cushiony style words that are being thrown out there. At the end of the day, I mean, if you take any substance that will alter your mind or your body, it then becomes a choice of whether you're going to go out and hit up a rave, or whether you're going to put a blindfold on and just feel what's happening inside of your body. Those, maybe you could say, they're like these two extremes. that you can go into. Now, nothing is changing in the external circumstance, like in the world. You're taking something that can allow you inside to feel life more fully. So everything that's already been happening in your life, we're stuck in the 5 senses that we have, and we like to put these blockers up. And we like to just kind of like focus, like, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to worry about that. I need to focus. All that's happening is these blinders are getting taken off, and you now have the opportunity to accept and feel life fully, not just the good, joyful, loving feelings, but also the deep, dark, nasty feelings, like the pain, the suffering, the guilt, the shame. That's typically stuff that we don't want to feel. But I always talk about this: night and day don't exist without each other. Totally. This is just, hot and cold. You wouldn't know what hot is if cold didn't exist. So, I mean, this is like the opportunity to feel everything. And when you actually allow yourself to feel everything and accept that you're feeling these things instead of pushing it away, that is when you actually could start to feel better, because you're accepting everything. You're accepting life. You're not pushing it away. And this is to me, it's one of the biggest keys, is to accept all of it. And that's what happens when you go into a journey like that, when you go into any experience that can kind of open up the receptors in your brain a little bit, quiet down the mind, that this is your opportunity to just feel what's happening already fully.
And so, like, how often would you do a journey? How often would you sit?
I mean, that one is just, it's different for everybody. Mike and I have been on a similar journey with this, and I'll let Mike speak to this a little bit. But I mean, I started off going in pretty hard because it was new, and I was really like fascinated at what I was experiencing. Right. Then that started to shift over a couple years, where I realized that I actually want to sit for a long period of time without any tool, meaning I'm processing, I'm integrating a lot of things that I've learned. Any situation that happens externally, now how will I react to that? It's different than 3 years ago.
Sure.
But I didn't feel the need to go in as often into a journey, because I just wanted to put myself into that test of what will I do right now? I have a lot to learn still. So it can vary. You could do it every day. You could do it once a week, once a month. You might do it once in your lifetime, but that could be one of the biggest life-altering experiences that you'll ever have in one go. So you might not need to do it again.
So, Mike, maybe you can speak a bit to this. Like, when you think of it as a tool, what type of tool is it? Like, what does that mean? How is it being utilized as a tool?
It's a tool that you can just, that you have access to, that you can utilize to, like Kory said, just you can use it to process. I myself, I use it, similar to Kory, I used it more often when I first discovered it. And we had some ayahuasca ceremonies, like fairly closely scheduled, but lately I trust my intuition. I let my heart lead, and I let the medicine call me in when it's time. And
what does that mean, though? Explain that.
I just have this, I get this feeling that it's time. I don't know how else to put that into words, but I know intuitively that I have stuff to process. I have work to do, basically. I have internal personal work to do. And it's not always going to be a journey, a plant medicine journey. Like it might be to go away into nature for a weekend, to escape. It's just a matter of feeling what I need in the moment and accepting and surrendering to that. And like I'll often find that when I have stuff to unpack, I feel that clearly, that I'll have a lot less clarity happening, and I'll feel almost this chaotic state that my mind is in, where everything kind of feels jumbled and cluttered. That to me is a sign that it's time to go in and figure out what's important, what's priority in my life, and what am I worrying about that's just bullshit, that's just completely stuff that my mind is making up, saying, hey, you need to worry about this. You need to put some thought and some effort and some energy into this piece. But a lot of times you'll come out of a journey and know that, you know what, that was all bullshit. I don't need to worry about that stuff at all. I often come out of them with the thought or the knowing belief that I'm taken care of. I'm supported no matter what happens in my life. I'm always going to be supported and loved unconditionally. And sometimes you just need that. You need that little reminder that everything's going to be okay for everyone. We're always going to be looked after, and we're always going to be supported. The universe has our back.
And is it always coming from a plant source? I think always is probably a strong word, but like, is that when you think of, like, I know it's plant medicine, but is that the derivative? Plant, root, flower?
Yeah, I mean, for me, absolutely. Like, from the earth, it's in its natural form. It was put here for a reason. I think when you look back, it has almost a negative stigma to it in a lot of society situations, but it's a tool that's like it's really is a medicine. It allows people to explore areas of themselves, of their minds, of their bodies that they might not have had access to otherwise. So I myself see it as a beautiful thing that you know, the universe, God, whatever word you want to use, has given us to help us continue to expand and heal.
And if I wanted to consider doing a plant medicine journey, if I wanted to attend a ceremony, what's your kind of recommendation to somebody who's never done it? Well, I mean, you'd be speaking to me, never done it before, but is it a lot of people? Is it only 5 people? Can it be just like something you find online? Should it be with people you know? What's kind of your recommendation around that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think the best thing you can do is reach out to people that you know and get as much information as possible. There's no right way to do it. This is, you know, it's life. I mean, you choose what you want to do at any given point. Sure. You're going to do what you think is best for you. There are facilitators that will do it solo, individual, small groups, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it is. But then it goes up. You know, you can go to retreats where there's 20 people. Right. The fact of the matter is, again, it's life, and that will be your experience. If you're with 20 people and you're feeling like, you know, and I've gone through this, I don't want to bug people and I don't want people to be looking at, well, there's something that you might want to work on right there. So maybe start with your individual and work your way into a group eventually, because why do you care what anyone else thinks? So there's a lot of, if you're just starting out, research, take a look online. There is a lot of material out there. I will tell you one thing from my personal experience, Shay, is that when I first got like absolutely infatuated with this, you know, plant medicine and healing, I'm like, what is all this? And I spent hundreds of hours online watching videos, reading articles, reaching out to people, having conversations. Yeah. Sure, I got more comfortable with the fact that I was about to go do this, but none of it ultimately mattered at the end because it was all this knowledge I had in my head. One person out of everyone was like, I'm not going to tell you anything. Go do it and then hit me back up. And that I understood more than all the other information I got, because once I did it, I'm like, oh, it's the whole point is to get out of your head. Don't worry about all the knowledge. Feel it. So yeah, I would say just research, talk to people. And then as soon as you feel comfortable, just make a move, go do it. Whatever modality you want to do, try something and just see what happens. Go from there.
Yeah. And, one thing I always say to people is, for me anyways, this is my approach, is considering the source. I really believe strongly that, as you alluded before, there's night and day. Like we have beginnings and ends. There's good and there's evil. And just because somebody's holding a ceremony does not mean that they have necessarily, I don't want to say bad intentions, but you're in a spiritual thing. You are opening yourself up. You're in a vulnerable state. And for me, that very much matters, like who you're entrusting your vulnerability to. And that's something somebody could research a lot more, because that's a huge topic on its own. But that's part of been my reservation for a very long time, partly. And Mike, you were talking about it earlier, of being called. And I understand that, because I've told Kory this as well, I really haven't felt called to go do it. Like, I haven't felt like, even almost 2 years now being in Costa Rica, I've had no desire, no curiosity even. It's always been something for me where I'm like, it would have to be with the right people for me to know where the source is coming from, that it's good intentions, but in the woo-woo world, we might call white light, like, knowing what side they're on is really important. But then also the other side for me is just, I haven't felt the call. I would say I'm the closest I am right now. Before I left to come to Toronto in Costa Rica, I was invited to go to a ceremony, and it was the first time I'd actually ever considered it. Whereas before, it's just been like, no, it's like not my time, not for me type of thing. And so I think, both those components for somebody, if they were thinking about that, is to consider that, who is holding that space for you. It is very vulnerable, and you do your research online, and some people are completely fine, and some people are very sick. And if you've got a hole, it's coming out every which way. And like, that alone is very vulnerable. Like, who's taking care of you, quite literally, right? So it's a very fascinating conversation, and we are starting to see this conversation become much more even approachable amongst industries that normally would say absolutely no, like amongst athletes, for example. I was just reading the other week that they're talking about using psychedelics for athletes to help with a lot of things. Re-stimulation of the mind, when you think of athletes who have suffered concussions and have brain fog, and there's a lot of actual physical trauma there, that they're exploring psychedelics as a pathway to actually revitalize that part of the brain. So I would say, this is a very open-minded conversation, and be willing to learn something that you didn't already know, and leaving stigma out. And, I think of like my mother, for example, but I think like the older generations, this is a very hard pill to swallow, quite literally, or I should say plant to swallow. But learning about it versus dismissing it and just saying, that's not for me, it's a drug, I don't want to be a part of that. Because there is this huge migration that is happening, not just in the healing community, but we're seeing it in the health community. It's coming into business conversations. And like anything in life, how you use it can either be a tool, or it can be very destructive, and you look at alcohol is a very easy one. You can enjoy a glass of wine, and it can have its health benefits, and it can also be very abusive and destructive, to life, to families, and so forth. So it's finding that understanding and balance around what you are consuming. I'd love for you guys to share with me a little bit about Life Unboxed as we kind of wrap up a little bit. I think that's a really important piece of what you guys are now doing. And I believe Tenfed is still benefiting from your guys' new venture that you are embarked on. So tell me what it is. How can we get involved and look you guys up?
Yeah, so Life Unboxed is an idea that we'd hatched a few months back, and the idea of it is to provide a platform for people to tap into, to experience breathwork, to experience different types of healing journeys that they might want to partake in. Really, it's a platform for anyone that is curious, that's brand new to it, that's been doing it for a while, to kind of tap in. So the idea is basically it kind of launched from Kory and I both being breathwork facilitators, but giving people a platform where they can sign up for in-person classes, sign up for virtual classes, so they can do it from the comfort of their own home. Believe it or not, but breathwork is extremely effective over video calls. That's actually how the majority of our training was done, was over Zoom calls. Cool. And you can still get the benefits from it virtually. Just providing a platform for people to tap into whenever they need to. And like you said, it's partnered with Tenfed, so every single person that supports on there via membership or just their own single in-person session will be providing meals through Tenfed. It's something we're super excited to launch and get off the ground and give. What we also really want to do is just build community. And what you were speaking of earlier with regards to if you do it individually, plant medicine, but who you surround yourself with, the community that you're getting involved in, there needs to be a level of trust there. And Kory and I are both fortunate enough to have been connected with a lot of wonderful, loving communities over the past few years, and being able to build a community where people are very supporting, non-judgmental, going through their own personal stuff. I myself find a lot of my healing takes place when I'm around other people that are also vulnerable. It allows me to be vulnerable and open up. And I think the more we do that with each other, the more that we can open up as humans and heal and help each other's heal. And really, that's what the Life Unboxed community is going to be all about. It's just supporting each other, providing that platform for people to go to and just feel comfortable, feel confident, feel like they can be themselves and authentic, and just truly experience life how it's meant to. Unboxed.
I love that. And you nailed it right on the head in creating this community where people can feel vulnerable and be vulnerable in that safe environment. And I say often that it's always that which we think separates us from people that we actually realize once we become vulnerable and we take that, become courageous and just share what we don't want other people to know, that people go, oh shit, me too. Like, you're human? Wow, you're human as well. Okay, I am too. And I'm going through that. And we actually realize that the things we don't want to share because we think it's going to separate us are the things that connect us with one another actually the most.
100%. Yeah. I like coming from the corporate world. I found myself putting a mask on every day and turning into like a robot. And it was all just so surface level, where when you take that mask off and you actually start to open up and someone else opens up to you, you have a connection that you could have never imagined would be possible, right? It's just that the familiarity, like we're both going through some stuff. Let's be open and genuine and authentic with each other. And that's where the magic happens.
I love it. Kory, do you want to add anything?
That was all really good stuff. I mean, I agree. I think this is the being vulnerable and being open with people. At the end of the day, it's like we want to talk about the good things on social media and in person. We like to talk about the good things. Just like I was saying a little while back, it's easy to talk about and feel all the beautiful, fuzzy stuff. But when you actually relate to people on the depth of the darkness that you felt and the suffering, that's when it's like, it's there. Let's talk about it. The more you talk about it, the more that you at least kind of admit and then go through it a little bit, it creates space. Creates space. It starts to sort of feel like a bit of relief that it's like, oh, we're all one. And that does seem kind of wishy-washy when you just say it, but we're all interconnected. We're like the cells on an organism called Earth, and we need to work together in one cohesive unit to make this thing work. If we all fight against each other, meaning if we don't even know who each other is, we're not going to be able to work together.
Totally.
So this is just one of the most important things is the community connecting and being open and honest and vulnerable. And that'll create space to actually really connect and support this planet the way it should be.
And I can go to lifeunboxed.ca now.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Go check it out.
So you definitely need to go check these guys out. They're doing phenomenal work and creating great impact. I'm going to for sure have you guys back because I would love to just dive into the business topic, around all the nitty gritty, the ups and downs, the highs and the lows, the hard and the happy, around how you even build business. And so I think that would be a fantastic part 2 to learning the heartbeat, which we've just discussed today around what you guys are building and creating. Before I let you go though, because you are on the Freedom CEO podcast, I want to ask you both, when you think about becoming the CEO in your life, being really the chief decision maker in your life, owning your decisions, how has that created freedom for you both in your lives?
Oh, just having the ability to just be okay and surrendering to what's happening in life versus wanting to control everything to be how I need it to be okay. So, and taking life in stride with that in mind on every single aspect or every single thing that happens to me. That's, for me personally, that's how I try and strive to live every day. And that's just to surrender and accept and go through life like water flowing down a river. And there's going to be rocks, there's going to be boulders in that river, and that's okay. The water will flow around it and continue to flow. That's how I want to live.
So much wisdom in that. So much wisdom. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then I would say, I feel like I'm a bit of a broken record on this, but maybe it's a good thing, is just the freedom that I have felt in allowing whatever is actually coming up, whether it be like a guilt or sadness or some difficult emotion.
Yeah.
As I have just begun to learn how to allow that to just be there, I have just expanded to the point where I'm really okay with anything. And it did not used to be that way. I may struggle, I may suffer, but I'm just feeling way more free in my life by allowing whatever's there to be there and not pushing it away. It's been the number one shift that has allowed me to actually feel like I have this, I've got this, this life thing, the CEO of my life. I literally am okay with whatever's happening, and I can start to see it more clearly when I just let this emotion kind of fly through. So yeah, that's the number one thing for me. That's where the freedom comes from, allowing.
I love that. And that is true freedom, to really have anything happen and an element of not necessarily enjoying it, but being okay with it, so powerful. Guys, thank you so much for being here today. I am so grateful for you both. And like I said, you guys are going to need to come back because you guys are serious business gurus that I have so much adoration for. And I'd love to unpack that. But at least now we have part 1 of the heartbeat around why you guys do it, what you're doing. Everything's going to be in the show notes. So make sure you click all the links below. If you're not following these guys yet on Instagram, you have seen their handles coming up if you are watching. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for tuning into the Freedom CEO podcast. If you got value out of today's show, I would love for you to leave a review, as it will help my show reach other people as well. You know what to do. Download this episode, click the like and subscribe button. If you feel like spreading more love, hop over to Instagram and share today's show in your stories. Remember to tag Shane Vidiata and the Freedom CEO. My DMs are always open, so drop me a line. I'd love to connect. Until next time, keep owning your decisions to live a life of freedom. Live a life you love.